Cuyahoga County Council regular meeting for Tuesday, January the 28th, 2014. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Calling the roll, Ms. Conwell.
Here.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Rogers. Ms. Simon. Mr. Greenspan. Mr. Miller. Mr. Brady. Mr. Germana. Mr. Gallagher. Mr. Schron.
Here.
Ms. Conley. There is a quorum.
Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For our silent meditation this evening, we like to consider all those who are in need of warmth and shelter this evening, and that all people will have a safe and warm night, and we will make it through this cold spell. All right, moving on to item 5. Is there any comment related to the agenda? We've had lots of comments. Is anyone else signed in?
Yes, Madam Chair. Josh Domangos.
Thank you, Mr. Domangos.
Thank you, Council President. This one will be shorter. I remember what Cleveland looked like. I may be relatively young, but I have a very good memory. I remember what Cleveland looked like. I remember the giant parking lot. I also remember the hype that surrounded the initial campaign for the Gateway issue. One would have thought the city of Cleveland and all of Cuyahoga County would have been magically transformed into a gleaming model city and county of the new millennium. That didn't happen. I didn't buy it. I don't think most people did. I think it was an emotional vote to keep our sports teams. That's understandable. But what is disturbing is how much hasn't changed in the city of Cleveland. There are entire blocks that have no houses on them. I can think of the area by East 65th and Beaver near South Woodland. There's an entire 3 or 4 block area. There are no residences. It's just basically fields growing with whatever wildlife decides to make that its habitat. I've been to the city to the block I grew up on as a youngster, the street of Griffing in the city of Cleveland between East 116th and East 123rd. And things have not improved. The house next to the house I grew up in is in the process of being condemned. 2 houses down, that house has been condemned. There are probably 6 or 7 condemned houses on that stretch on Griffing between East 116th and East 123rd alone. And this is a symptom of the city in general. This city was built to hold 1 million. It now has less than half of that. I understand that general funds will be used if the sin tax is not passed. I understand that that will only worsen the situation that I've described. Therefore, I strongly urge you to delay placing this on the ballot until November and use our once-in-a-generation leverage and opportunity to make a better deal. This opportunity will not present itself until the next renewal. And if I've got any idea which way the winds are blowing, that probably won't be for 20 years. So please, do not put this on the May ballot. Wait until November and get a better deal. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, let's move to item 6, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of January 14th, 2014, which appear on page 16 of your of the book, and the regular special meeting for January the 21st, which appear on page 35, are in your packet. If everyone has had an opportunity to review those minutes, I'll entertain a motion to adopt them as circulated.
Madam Chair, I move we adopt as presented.
Moved by Mr. Germana and seconded by Mr. Miller. Is there any comment, addition, or correction to the minutes? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes are adopted. I have no items for announcements. Mr. Fitzgerald?
Thank you very much. Madam President, I don't want to revisit the sin tax too much, but I would just, I appreciate the sincerity of the remarks that were just made, but I would just make this point. There are counties and metro areas who have found themselves in the same position that we are. And they again, as always happens, unfortunately, there's public support of these sports facilities, but they don't do it through a sin tax. They do it through general fund revenues, and it directly competes with all the services that help all of the neighborhoods that we all live in. And if the sin tax does not pass, it means we will be funding things or funding these repairs or maintenance in competition with funds we use for things like our community policing unit that we started a couple years ago, the funds that we use for local neighborhood development or to fix county roads or bridges. It will be a competition then, and then we'll have to make a choice. So again, to me, defeating the sin tax is not going. The sin tax was never sold as a neighborhood development strategy. It was a downtown development strategy, and it's been fairly successful in that. What will happen if there is no sin tax is it will then compete with funds that are used directly and appropriated and administered by this administration for a lot of those neighborhood services. A couple things I wanted to mention, though, non-sin tax related. Hate to leave that topic. One is I just want to thank all of our, the county was closed today along with the city and most of the school districts. I just want to thank and pay tribute to all of the county workers who had to work today because they were performing essential services or emergency services, particularly
County Council.
well. Anyway, well, sure, but also the folks that were working, for folks that are working security and the folks that are working with our emergency management folks, the folks that are working with our homeless population, they're doing so under extremely adverse conditions, and our thoughts are with them. I also just wanted to mention, as I'm sure council knows and the public probably knows now, we started demolition on the old county administration building officially yesterday. I'm sure if you've driven past it today, you've seen that they've already made quite a lot of progress, again, in very adverse weather conditions, but we're on schedule and on track with that project. One thing that we did have scheduled today that we would have, if it hadn't been canceled for the weather, is our Consumer Affairs Department was going to do the latest in series of public events where they're letting people know about different scams and ripoffs that they want people to be aware of. And we'll probably reschedule this now, but if it had happened today, what you would have heard is Cindy Zitch from our department, which has done excellent work, by the way. I want to compliment again Councilman Brady for really spearheading that project because they have done fantastic work. But the issue of the week, so to speak, or the issue of the month that they were going to highlight, which I would just ask council people to kind of relay to your constituencies, is that it is tax season, and there are a number of groups that kind of prey on taxpayers and give them misleading information about money that they may be entitled to, and a lot of times those are services that some of our nonprofits can provide free of charge, and there's just a lot of abuse of that whole system. So we're going to be providing that information later this week. We'll provide it to council members as well, and we'd ask you to forward that information to your constituents to make sure that those folks that take advantage of that situation don't find fertile ground here in the greater Cleveland area. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you. I did have one announcement. Actually, I'll defer to Ms. Simon. You want to make an announcement about our heroin summit?
Thank you, Madam President. On February 5th in Beechwood at the Community Center, the Council President and I are hosting a summit on the heroin epidemic that's been a part of our community now for longer than we really want to admit. So this is really informative, and I hope everybody can attend. We're having the Steve Dettelbach there, and our sheriff will be there, our medical examiner, and members of the community. So I hope everybody can attend that. And
That's at Beechwood City Hall, which is the corner of Fairmount and Richmond, and lots of parking. Yep. Okay. All right, we're going to move item 9 to the end of the agenda and go on to item 10, consideration of a resolution of council for first reading and referral to committee.
Resolution number 2014-0027, a resolution confirming the county executive's reappointment of Nick Nardi to serve on the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority Board of Trustees for the term March 1, 2014 through February 28, 2017, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Goes to Human Resource Committee.
Can you ask me as a co-sponsor of that?
And Mr. Rogers.
Resolution number 2014-0028, a resolution confirming the county executive's appointment or reappointment of various individuals to serve on the Cuyahoga County Planning Commission for various terms, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective for the appointments and the appointees in terms as printed on the agenda, items B1 and 2.
It goes to Human Resources. Item 11, committee reports and consideration of a resolution of council for second reading adoption or suspension of the rules. These items have gone to committee, and some of them are time sensitive, and there's no reason to have a third reading, so I'll entertain a motion pursuant to Rule 9D to waive the third reading.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rule.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Gallagher and seconded by Mr. Jemian. Any comment? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The rule is suspended.
Resolution number 2014-0003, a resolution confirming the county executive's appointment of Jason J. Therian to serve on the Cuyahoga County Community Improvement Corporation Board of Trustees for the term January 1, 2014 through January 1, 2017, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Conwell and seconded by Mr. Gallagher. Any comments?
Yes, Madam Chair. This committee recommends confirmation of the executive's appointment of Mr. Therian to the Community Improvement Corporation Board of Trustees. This is an 11-member body that serves for the sole purpose of advancing, encouraging, and promoting the industrial, economic, commercial, and civic development of Cuyahoga County. This corporation serves as the county's review agent for industrial, revenue bond financing, and economic development lending activity. So this committee asks for approval of this appointment.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations to Mr. Therian. Is he here? All right, item 0004.
Resolution number 2014-0004, a resolution confirming the county executive's reappointment of Diane Fusco to serve on the Cuyahoga County Board of Developmental Disabilities for the term February 1, 2014 through January 31, 2018, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Conwell and seconded by Mr. Jemian.
Yes, Madam Chair. This committee recommends confirmation of the reappointment of Ms. Fusco to serve on Cuyahoga County Board of Developmental Disabilities. Each member is allowed 3 consecutive terms, and this will be Ms. Fusco's 3rd term. She brings a wealth of knowledge as well as her constant engagement with the state of Ohio on the changes that affect individuals with developmental abilities. This committee asks for reconfirmation of Ms. Fusco's appointment.
All right, any other questions or comments? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations to Ms. Fusco.
Resolution number 2014-0005, a resolution approving a revised assigned counsel fee schedule for the Cuyahoga County Court of Common Pleas General Division and 8th District Court of Appeals, effective February 1, 2014, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Simon and seconded by Mr. Miller. Mr.
Madam President.
Miller?
Madam President, this item comes out of a discussion that we had in the biennial budget process, and it does not do as much as is needed to correct the very low assigned counsel fees, but it does represent half of what was requested to correct a 30-year problem. So it's a very significant step, and I'm hopeful that in the next few years that we can do the rest of it.
Any other questions or comments?
President? I just wanted to say that it's really important that the defense counsel fees remain competitive, because without that, our justice system really is at risk of not being able to maintain fairness to those who can't afford legal counsel, and in terms of just making sure we have a justice system that functions. This is really important, so I ask for your support and appreciate all the input from the committee members, Mr. Gallagher's committee, and the rest of council.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Item 12, committee reports and consideration of a resolution of council for third reading adoption. This is the item that was referred from our committee. To be in compliance with the rules, I'm going to ask for a motion to suspend Rule 9D. This is the syntax that we've had conversations about, and the rules require 3 regular meetings. This matter was heard at 2 regular meetings and a special meeting. To make sure that we are in compliance with the rules, I'm going to entertain a motion pursuant to Rule 9D to suspend that rule.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rule.
All right, all right, moved by Mr. Gallagher and seconded by Mr. Germana. Any discussion on the suspension of the rules? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Ms. Schmatzer.
Resolution number 2014-0002, a resolution determining to submit to the electors the question of levying an extension of the alcohol and cigarette excise taxes for the purpose of paying the costs of constructing, renovating, improving, or repairing sports facilities and reimbursing a county for costs incurred by the county in the construction of sports facilities.
Move to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Jones and seconded by Ms. Conwell. Is there any discussion on this item? Yes, Mr. Germana.
Madam Chair, I've heard a lot of great discussion about this resolution. There was one thing that hasn't been mentioned, and I think it's important for people to know. A couple weeks ago, I got a phone call from Tim Donovan from the Ohio Erie Canal Corridor. And he wanted to run an idea by me about, because there's so many unfinished recreational trails and the flow of money is not there, he floated the idea of couldn't some of these funds be used for recreational purposes? So I thought that was a great idea. And if I had the power to, I would move to amend this so that some of these monies could go to recreational facilities in the cities. But in checking with the staff, I couldn't attend the forums that the Greater Cleveland Partnership presented. So I asked about this. I said, hey, can we split off this? And the explanation came back that when we became a chartered government, the General Assembly did not relinquish the taxation provision. And matter of fact, this resolution and all the wording is by the state government as to what the wording and how it can be used. And the whole section talks about these funds being only be able to be used for professional sports teams. A lot of people don't know that, and so when we go forth, and I'm going to be voting yes on this, I want people to understand that we can't change it. This has all been set in stone. I mean, we could vote it down, but the fact of the matter is this is a renewal. We know all the good that it does. I guess the other reason I brought this up is as we go forward and over these years, if there is monies like Councilman Conwell was talking about where you could have a scorecard of what the teams do, you know, our cities in Cuyahoga County and cities throughout the state have been hurt by the recession and what the state legislature did to balance the budget, you know, taking away the local government funds. Those were promised funds when we passed the income tax years ago. And these cities, 50 to 60% of their funds go for safety, fire, police, and so that's primary. And I think recreation is down the line. It shouldn't be, because it's good for our health. So I'm just planting the seed that as we go forward, and as these leases get renewed, and as you continue to make donations, I would hope that you would consider maybe a matching fund type thing where cities can come up with some funds and match by the different sport teams for recreational facilities. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Schrein?
Thank you, Madam President. Today, I'm not voting for the tax to go on today. I'm voting for a tax for consideration by those who have already voted 2 times to put this before themselves and have affirmatively voted. That's what this body has the obligation and the responsibility to do. So when I signed a commitment 3 years ago that I wouldn't be imposing taxes without the voice of the public, I cannot go in the reverse and say I'm not going to give the public the right to actually either support or not support what they've done on 2 previous occasions. I think that this body owes that obligation to those taxpayers who have done this on 2 different occasions. This is not the team's property that we're protecting. It's our property. It's our property in the county. It's our property in the city. And like those of us who have homes and have responsibilities, we understand that maintenance, roof repair, electrical, heating, ventilation, all the core systems that make a building like the one we're in right now work and function is something that we have an obligation as protecting those assets that belong to the public to do. We can get excited and focus on pieces and parts of those items that have more excitement to them, but the core parts of it, a roofing system that hasn't been replaced in 20 years, if anybody's ever done a roof for their home knows that that's way within the scope of consideration. And if we don't do it, it's going to come out of our operating budget, and then we're going to be making tough calls, as this group does up here, on whether or not we are funding some health and human service issues. And as though we have that responsibility, we know that the taxpayers in two occasions have voted for this. We also have heard some comments about jobs and job creation, and maybe it didn't turn out exactly the way it was anticipated, but I know that I can speak personally, having gone on the old Collinwood Railroad yards and renovated a site that had been abandoned for, like the parking lot, and I could not sit here and tell you that after we built our headquarters, that I could have envisioned that the food bank would be sitting there as the largest, one of the largest food banks in all the Midwest providing services. I could not sit here and tell you that in that plan that we would envision the Cleveland Clinic doing their laundry for all the Cleveland Clinic or the Social Security offices would be there. So when somebody sits there and does a forecast as a business person, you give it your best opportunity to put those jobs and job creations. But we also heard that they did not anticipate the new housing stock. They didn't anticipate the young people moving downtown. They didn't anticipate that we're bumping it beyond 15,000 people looking to hit 25,000 before long. They also didn't anticipate somebody like a Rocco Whalen walking in here and keeping his brand, not only expanding it here in northeastern Ohio, but he's expanding his brand out of Cleveland as a restaurateur into places like Charlotte, where he is bringing the brand of Cleveland restaurants out there. We didn't anticipate that the entertainment district would grow. And so with that, I think that there are always unintended consequences, and fortunately, we've got a lot of positive ones going on here. I would welcome the opportunity to have a conversation about where we go with allocation, like Councilman Conwell. I'd love to be able to have those conversations as far as how do we have a more diversified workforce as we go forward on the maintenance and service. And I personally am offering my services or whatever I can do to help bring a leadership in any of those conversations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schrein. Ms. Simon?
Thank you, Madam President, and to everybody who's attended these hearings. It's been very important to hear all positions. We're at a historical crossroads in Cleveland and a turning point in the county. The synergy that we're currently experiencing is critical to continue to maintain these teams. It's critical that we keep the teams to keep the shift that we're actually experiencing now. It's amazing. But if we lose the teams, I think we're going to go backwards. So the overriding question for the residents of this county, the question is whether do the residents want 3 major teams here? If the answer is yes, then I think there needs to be a commitment to invest, along with our private partners, in these physical structures so that they're maintained as important assets in the community. At the end of the day, the field, the arena, the stadium belong to the people. And the people, we have the ability to create the future of this county and Cleveland. The future rests in our hands. So I'm supporting putting this on the ballot, absolutely. And I think we really need to keep this shift going, and it's critical that at this threshold that we go the right way. So thank you, everybody, for your comments, and I'm going to vote to put this on the ballot.
Thank you, Ms. Simon. Mr. Greenspan?
Thank you, Madam President. As my colleagues have heard me say in the past, it's my fundamental belief that government is best served when it's closest to the people. And based on this belief, I support the right of self-determination when offered. And this clearly is an opportunity for self-determination to be offered, and I believe it should and as well should be exercised. With all this said, if this is placed on the ballot today, I would encourage all residents of the county to participate in the dialogue in the process, become as informed on the issue and the issues that are before us, and understand the complete ramifications, both pro and con, for this issue. And so with that said, once again, believing government is closest to the people, supporting the right of self-determination, I would encourage passage of this to be placed on the ballot before the electors of the county. Thank you.
Ms. Conwell?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's not any question that different opinions on both sides of the coin has a say in the extension of the sin tax. It is my charge to vote whether to place this on the ballot for the residents of Cuyahoga County to have their voices heard. I do agree that there are further discussions that need to be had in regards to how the repairs will be addressed and what priority for the teams. I hope that this conversation will continue in regards to partnership between the teams in this county. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Conwell. Mr. Miller?
Madam President, my colleagues, whenever we start talking about building new stadiums, things get messy, very expensive, and there is some threat that one or more teams might leave. My aim is to put off that day as far as possible, at least for 20 years and hopefully longer. This is my biggest reason to put the sin tax extension on the ballot and maintain our existing facilities. We all know that with proper maintenance, it's less expensive to keep a car for 8 years than to trade it in every 2 years and have 4 cars. Surely it's the same with sports facilities. The sin tax extension is not an increase. By percentage of product cost, it's a decrease. Say you bought a beer in 1990 for $1 when the tax started and the tax was 4 cents. Based on inflation since then, that beer is about $1.75 today, but the tax is still 4 cents. We can live with 4.5 cents on a pack of cigarettes, a penny on a glass of wine, and 3 to 4 cents on a glass of beer or a shot of liquor to maintain the sports facilities that we own. We do have a national problem that sports teams have a lot of leverage because they can go elsewhere. Don Scipione rightly suggested that all the host cities band together and negotiate collectively. I support that idea, but until such time, we have to work with things as they are. Team agreements in Cleveland are better than most. Contrary to popular belief, the teams have invested significantly in capital repair and upgrades to our facilities. The Indians, $63 million, Browns, $70 million plus, Cavaliers, $128 million, not including the player development facility. There is no magic bullet for a bright economic future for Greater Cleveland. It is a combination of things: manufacturing, healthcare, financial services, world-class culture, tourism, and yes, professional sports. The Indians, Browns, and Cavaliers are a fundamental part of who we are as Clevelanders. Where would it be if not for sitting around in bars and family gatherings, still talking about Lenny Barker's perfect game, the drive, the fumble, Red Right 88, Jordan over Elo, the 10-game winning streak to end the season, and Jason Giambi's home run with 2 outs in the last half of the 9th inning. I close by reminding the teams, the campaign consultant, and the other supporters that, as in sports, winning is not all there is. I want the sin tax extension to pass, but I also want this campaign to be conducted on a high standard, so that victory, if achieved, has the legitimacy that comes from a campaign based on accurate information and achievable commitments. With that expectation, I vote yes to place the sin tax extension on the ballot.
Any other comments or questions from council members? All right, Madam Clerk, will you call? Yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. As the sponsor of the legislation, I'd like to just share my reasons. And it goes back to, I would say, early December when this issue was first brought before us. And I knew it was the right thing to do. But having talked to constituents, having hearing polls, and it was not a very popular thing to do. But again, I felt it was the right thing to do. It was easy to look at the numbers and see, as it's been very well articulated today, the impact it would have on our general fund dollars, the dollars that benefit these the residents of the county and of the city. And that this was, again, the right thing to do. I battled with it, but I said I would volunteer to sponsor it. And I am glad to see it over the last month when I sponsored it on January 14th, and to hear the dialogue that has come forward throughout these hearings over the last few weeks, the important facts that, again, these facilities belong to the public, to the people, and we need to preserve them. These tax dollars are needed. It's something I support. And I am just glad that we're at this point now that it was about getting the support of these 11 members of council. And as the sponsor, I do ask my colleagues to support this. But once this vote has happened, whether up or down, if we go to the public, the conversation changes now. The public as a whole will not look at the numbers as closely as we have, and they're going to be concerned with other issues. In addition, the benefits to the community, things that have been articulated very well today here as well. So those are conversations I believe the council will continue to have, and continue the partnership that we've had with these teams and the business community to share with the community and share the story of the good things that these teams have already done and what commitments will be made in the future. And again, I like what was said earlier, not to overpromise. We should learn from the history over the last 25 years. There was different ownerships 25 years ago, different elected officials, but we can learn from what has happened in the past and share honestly what good story is already here with these 3 teams, share with the community, and I believe they will come to the same conclusion many of us have as well, that this is the right thing to do and to support this sin tax. So again, I do ask my colleagues for their support on this piece of legislation.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. All right, Madam Clerk, you call the roll.
Calling the roll, Ms. Conwell,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Rogers. Yes. Ms. Simon,
Yes.
Mr. Greenspan,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Brady,
Yes.
Mr. Germana,
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher,
Yes.
Mr. Schron,
Yes.
and Ms. Conley. Motion carries unanimously.
Chairperson,
Yes, Mr. Brady.
I'd like to have my name added as co-sponsor.
All right, add Mr. Brady's name. And my name.
My name.
Not my name.
I believe we just put everybody's name on it. All right. Thank all of you for your work in this effort. Thank all of those who have come and given us their input. This is a basic part of democracy, that we will put this tax on the ballot to the people, so the voters will decide. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to item 13, consideration of a resolution for first reading adoption under suspension of the rules. We need a motion to suspend Rule 9D and 12A.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Gallagher and seconded by Mr. Jemian. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The rules are suspended.
Resolution number 2014-0029, a resolution amending the 2014-2015 biennial operating budget for 2014 by providing for additional fiscal appropriations from the general fund and other funding sources, for appropriation transfers between budget accounts, and for cash transfers between budgetary funds in order to meet the budgetary needs of various county departments, offices, and agencies, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Adopt.
Moved by Mr. Miller and seconded by Ms. Conwell, and we're going to take a, I guess he's exiting from the meeting. Just a minute. Come on back, Mr. Come on back. Don't go far. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Madam President, members of County Council. Chris Murray, Office of Budget Management, presenting the fiscal items for your approval.
Amendment, I believe, Mr.
Madam President, and to my colleagues, this item provides mostly for the routine appropriation of grants and routine transfers, but there is one item of significance, which is the $27 million appropriation for the tenant improvements for the administration building. And because of the size of that item, and following the suggestion of our council president, I would like to move to amend that item, which is Section 1, Item C, out of the legislation and have it referred for to get further information in committee, and to encourage that the rest of the resolution be passed.
Moved by Mr. Miller and seconded by Mr. Greenspan to amend, to take that one item out. Is there any question on that? I thought we'll just refer that to the committee of the whole. All right, all those in favor of the amendment indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The item is amended. All right, any other discussion on the item on the merits as amended? All right, if not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item 14, consideration of a resolution for first reading adoption under suspension of the rules. This item had actually going to go into executive session, but we're going to proceed because it's in keeping with our other.
Madam
Yeah.
Chair, this item has been withdrawn at the request of the Law Department.
Oh, okay.
For consideration this evening, and they've requested that it be put on the next agenda.
Okay. Item 15, consideration of a resolution for first reading referral to committee.
Resolution number 2014-0031, a resolution making an award on requisition number 28818 to Carvo Paving Company in the amount not to exceed $8,372,654.20 for reconfiguration of the Warrensville Center Road, Van Aken Boulevard, Chagrin Boulevard, Northfield Road intersection in the city of Shaker Heights and village of Highland Hills, authorizing the county executive to execute the contract and all other documents consistent with said award and this resolution, authorizing the county engineer on behalf of the county executive to make an application for allocation from county motor vehicle $5 license tax funds in the amount of $418,632.71 to fund said contract, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
This goes to Public Works.
Resolution number 2014-0032, a resolution authorizing an agreement with City of Highland Heights for participation in the Cuyahoga County Benefits Regionalization Program for the period January 1, 2014 through December 31, 2016, authorizing the county executive to execute the agreement and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
This goes to Human Resources.
Resolution number 2014-0033, a resolution authorizing an agreement with City of University Heights for participation in the Cuyahoga County Benefits Regionalization Program for the period January 1, 2014 through December 31, 2016, authorizing the county executive to execute the agreement and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
It goes to
Human Resources.
Human Resources.
Resolution number 2014-0034, a resolution authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $11,955,000 County of Cuyahoga, Ohio Economic Development Revenue Refunding Bonds, Series 2014, Cleveland Hearing and Speech Center Project, for the purpose of refunding the outstanding principal amount of County of Cuyahoga, Ohio tax-exempt variable rate economic development revenue bonds, Series 2008, Cleveland Hearing and Speech Center Project, that were issued to provide funds to assist the Cleveland Hearing and Speech Center in financing costs of a project consisting generally of the acquisition, construction, improvement, furnishing, and equipping of real and personal property consisting of an approximately 48,000 square foot headquarters and operations facility located at 11635 Euclid Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio, authorizing the execution and delivery of a loan agreement and trust indenture, authorizing the execution and delivery of a bond purchase agreement, and authorizing the execution and delivery of certain other documents and actions in connection with the issuance of such bonds, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
This goes to Economic Development. Item 16, Committee Report and Consideration of Resolution for Second Meeting.
Resolution number 2013-0294, a resolution authorizing an economic development fund large-scale attraction loan in the amount not to exceed $805,000 to Remedy Senior Care of Ohio Northeast for relocation and expansion of a facility located at 26251 Bluestone Boulevard, Euclid, authorizing the Deputy Chief of Staff of Development or Director of Development to execute all documents consistent with said loan and this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
This matter will be passed for third reading on the meeting of February the 11th.
Madam President?
Well, there's a technical amendment that I'd like to make so that by the time we get to the third reading, we can just go ahead and go forward with it. The amendment is in our book. It's on page 109. It just deletes a specific naming of equipment, and instead of having the brand name in there, it's taken that out, just generically saying machinery and equipment. So I so move that change be adopted.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Mr. Rogers. Any discussion on the amendment? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, so the amended item will be moved to February the 2nd.
President, can I just have my name added at this point?
Resolution number 2014-0014, a resolution providing for adoption of various changes to the Cuyahoga County non-bargaining classification plan, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
This matter will go on the agenda for February the 2nd. Item 17, Committee Reports and Consideration of Resolution for Second Reading Adoption or Suspension of the Rule. These items are all gone to committee, so we need a motion to suspend Rule 9D.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rule.
Second.
Moved and seconded to suspend Rule 9D. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Resolution number 2013-0298, a resolution making awards on requisition number 28675 to various providers in the total amount not to exceed $153,600,000 for placement services for the period January 1, 2014 through December 31, 2016, authorizing the county executive to execute the master contract and all other documents consistent with said awards and this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective with the providers as printed on the agenda, items 17A1 through 34.
Madam Chairperson, move approval.
Moved by Mr. Brady and seconded by Ms. Conwell. Any discussion on these items?
Yes, Madam Chairperson. The Health and Human Services Committee held two hearings on this resolution. Given the scale of it and the uniqueness of it, though, I would like to have Director Warner come forward and briefly educate the council members who did not have the opportunity to be in the Health and Human Service Committee meetings.
Madam President and Chairman Brady, thank you very much for this opportunity to give you a short description of the item that is before you. It is, in fact, the board and care arrangement master services agreement for the Division of Children and Family Services for the next 2-year period. It mirrors the amount of money. The amount of money that is being allocated here is the amount of money that is in the budget over the 2-year period for the biennial budget that the council passed in December. As you may recall, in past years, we've done individual contracts with all of these providers, following along with the suggestion both from the administration and the examples set by the juvenile court. DCFS decided this time to do a master services agreement, a single agreement with sub-agreements with all of their providers. We did do a procurement process, and this set of providers represents 30 existing providers that we've already worked with for, in some cases, many, many years, as well as 4 new providers. The difference here is that there's one single contract and a series of subcontracts with scopes of work for each one of the providers. This will allow the division to move resources within and between these subcontracts in order to mirror the need for those children that are being placed with their various providers. We do our best estimate at the beginning of every year, and in this case, the beginning of every 2 years, to estimate how much money we will need for each one of the contracts, but inevitably there are changes to that. As you may be aware, there's a change that has even come since we introduced this original master services contract back in December. Catholic Charities has announced that Parmadale, its primary residential service provider, will be ceasing operation in the first half of this year. They are part of this contract, and so we will obviously pay them for the services they're rendering, but we are in the process of identifying placement alternatives for the children that are still being served at Parmadale. But by passing this master service agreement, you will not be required to approve every amendment that we do within these set of providers in order for us to continue to do business. When we were in front of Councilman Brady's committee, there was questions on our making sure that the council is fully informed as to our use of these, not only providers, but also the resources that are in the contract line item for this. And so we will be working at Councilman Brady's direction with your Chief of Staff, Joe Nani, to work out a regular reporting basis so you will know exactly where we are on a monthly or quarterly basis, using these providers both with the number of children that have been referred to them as well as the total dollar amounts that we believe we will be using from each provider. So I think, Mr. Brady, that summarizes the contract, but I would be happy to answer any questions. I appreciate the hearing that Councilman Brady's committee gave us twice on this, and I appreciate the questions we got there. And I do believe the Master Services Agreement will be a more efficient way, not only for council, but for the division itself. It won't be having to spend lots of time over every 2-year basis working on amendments to contracts, and we can focus on what is our primary responsibility, is making sure that these children are being adequately served. So I would be happy to answer any further questions that the council members have.
Any other questions?
Madam Chairperson, just that I think the committee had a good conversation over 2 meetings, that this process of this master contract is a step forward in the way we deliver services, and I would encourage my colleagues to support its approval.
Any other questions or comments?
President? Yeah, this is similar. We did this for the juvenile court contracts way back, so this is a great idea. So I support this.
Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. We had moved item 9 to the end of the agenda regarding the resignation of Mr. Rogers, and his wife was here, and she just walked out, and we want to do it while she's here. So we're going to go back to item 9. This is totally probably in violation of the rules, but we're going to go back to item 9 and do that item. And do we have to read something?
We can read into the record that this is the receipt of resignation from District 10 Council Member Julian Rogers.
And do we have to take a vote on this? Okay.
No, Madam Chair.
Mr. Rogers, this is a really I guess, historic and important meeting. You are the first person to leave the council. And since you have been on the council, your family has grown. You came with no children and now have 2 and a wife. And she was getting ready to leave, and I saw her leave, and I was like, you can't leave, because we want to recognize your participation and your great service on this council in very, very important issues, particularly in terms of education and sustainability. And would you like to make a comment?
Sure.
We hate to leave you. We hate to lose you, but
Sure. Well, thank you. I want to thank each and every one of you for the 3+ years that we spent together. I've really grown to learn a lot from you and be fond of working with this body. And we've really done a lot over these last few years. It's fitting, I think, that we have the old county administration building is being demolished as we speak. And it really is a testament to the amount of work that we've been doing over these past several years. Just a few things, just to kind of highlight our work. We've created a new government from scratch. We began to create a new culture through our strong ethics policy. We completed a convention center and a global center on health innovation. We're building a new headquarters, and we're providing for new, I can't even read my handwriting. We're providing new services to municipalities to save them money. We've repaved miles of road. We created a scholarship program and a college savings account program. And we're working to improve diversity and inclusion throughout the county. We passed 2 health and human service levies, and we provided millions of dollars in loans to businesses that have created thousands of jobs and are helping to strengthen our businesses. We've done a lot, and I'm happy to have been a part of that. I really want to thank Ellen for your leadership and for acting in a nonpartisan way on this council. I think it's really going to go far as new members are added to this council. I want to thank Ed for his leadership and creativity in being the first member and the first county executive of this county. So I'm really going to miss this. I'm going to be taking an opportunity, for those who don't know, with Cleveland State University as the Director of Community Partnerships. It's really fitting for my background, and it's with a great institution, so I'll be able to continue my service to the community, and I really appreciate that. But this is really bittersweet. I really want to thank my wife and my family for all of the heartache that they've had to put up with, all the time I've spent away from home. And I really want to thank the constituents and residents of District 10 that have elected me twice to serve them. It's really been a privilege and an honor to be in this position, and I only hope that that they feel that I serve them well. So thank you all, and thank you for your friendship.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
I'll just be quite brief. I'm sure it's been said, but Julian will be missed. He was a great public servant. He was always ethical, and his heart was in the right place. We worked particularly closely together on the college savings account program. Would not have passed without him. Wouldn't have been written the way it was without him. I hope he's still at Cleveland State when he sees kids going into college and using some of those proceeds. But he elevated the tone, I think. He was one of many people that have elevated the tone of this experiment that we've all engaged in. He'll be missed, and I hope he comes back into public office at a later date and time. I'll put up yard signs for you or whatever you need if you ever choose to. But you'll be missed. I'm sure your family will be happy to have you around more with your young children. But good luck to you, and you should feel very happy with the public service that you've rendered so far. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
And then, as Mr. Fitzgerald said, our loss is certainly Cleveland State's gain. So we have a small token of our esteem presented to Julian Rogers for his outstanding service and tireless dedication while serving on the inaugural Cuyahoga County Council from 2011 to 2014. And we'll come down in the front and bring your wife up. On behalf of Cuyahoga County Council, we'd like to give you this small token of our esteem. Certainly thank you for your service, and we look forward to bigger and better things for you, and it's been a pleasure to serve with you. Thank you. You can come home now.
Madam Chair.
We do that later. We can do it later. Don't leave, photographer. We'll do it at the end. We'll be here.
Madam Chair, would like to just say my, I guess, so longs to my right hand on Vice Chair on Human Resources Appointments and Equity. I don't want to cry. He got sworn in with me, Dale, and we have a history. So I'm gonna miss you, buddy.
Okay.
Madam President.
Yeah, okay.
Julian, you've served with distinction as one of the 11 original members of County Council, of which there will never be any more, and are the first to leave appropriately by way of promotion. You played the essential role in turning the charter language on scholarships into 3 tangible programs that are helping hundreds of youth build a brighter future and will help thousands in the future. You have been a tireless advocate for early education, youth development, and a collaborative approach to educational progress. I wish you the very best of success in your new position at Cleveland State, and look forward to continuing to work with you to better Cuyahoga County, and it has truly been an honor to serve with you on this county council.
And we have another presentation from Diane Pickett. You want to come forward?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My name is Diane Pickett. I'm the director of the Cuyahoga County Solid Waste District. And on behalf of the district, I wanted to also thank Julian for his service as the board chair for the Solid Waste District for the past few years. At the Solid Waste District, we have a little tradition of giving an Oscar to those we work with that help us advance recycling and sustainability initiatives in Cuyahoga County. So our Oscar is a trash Oscar. And this one is the Trash Oscar for Distinguished Service in the category of Best Supporting Role for the Solid Waste District. So I want to thank you for all the work that you've done to help us advance all of our initiatives. You've come to our compost seminars, you've attended countless meetings, you've chaired the Sustainability Committee. And most of all, I very much appreciate your support in helping us launch the Cuyahoga County Environmental Crimes Task Force that is a city and county initiative that we will begin to stop the open dumping of scrap tires and trash in our urban neighborhoods. So that was a great success. So on behalf of my staff, we hope that you will display your Oscar proudly on your new desk at Cleveland State, and think of us whenever you hear the word recycle.
Okay, we can continue the meeting. His resignation is not effective until January the 31st, so we're still good to go, and you can still vote on the rest of the items. All right, let's go back to item page 7, item B. Is that right?
Yes, Madam Chair. Resolution number 2014-0006, a resolution amending the 2012-2013 biennial operating budget for 2013 by providing for additional fiscal appropriations from the general fund and other funding sources, and for appropriation transfers between budget accounts in order to meet the budgetary needs of various county departments, offices, and agencies related to year-end closeout activities in accordance with resolution number 2013-0227, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Miller and seconded by Mr. Schron. Any discussion on this item?
Madam President, my colleagues, this resolution confirms the year-end changes that were made and in accordance with Resolution 2013-0227, and it was discussed in Finance and Budget Committee. I just want to comment on one item, which is the item which provides for a nearly $21 million reduction in funding for children's services. And just want to make it clear that this item does not represent a reduction in services, either planned or unplanned, but simply results from the fact that the contract for providing these services and the time frame of the biennial budget did not line up with each other, and so this adjustment was needed to get things back in sync. And I ask for the approval of my colleagues. Thank you.
All right, any other discussion on this item? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. All right, moving right along.
Madam Chair, if I may clarify, who was the second on that?
Mr. Schwan.
Thank you. Resolution number 2014-0009, a resolution authorizing a revenue-generating utility agreement with City of Warrensville Heights for maintenance and repair of storm sewers, sanitary sewers, and water lines located in County Sewer District Number 5, authorizing the county executive to execute the agreement and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Move to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Jones and seconded by Mr. Germain. Any discussion on this item?
Madam President, this was a revenue-generating agreement. As Warrensville Heights has looked to bring this agreement with the county, we've taken the opportunity to standardize all of our agreements, and this was, again, another opportunity for the county to standardize our agreements across the board. So I do ask for my colleagues' support on this legislation.
Okay, and we have Ms. Chantel Brown here, who's a councilman in Warrensville Heights, visiting with us this evening. All right, any other questions on this side discussion? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Item 0015.
Resolution number 2014-0010.
I'm sorry.
A resolution authorizing an amendment to contract number CE 10241 with Sterling Telecom Office Building, care of Colliers International, for lease of office space located at 1255 Euclid Avenue, Cleveland, for the period September 1, 1998 through December 31, 2012, to extend the time period to December 31, 2015, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $498,300.12. Authorizing the county executive to execute the amendment and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Jones and seconded by Ms. Conwell. I thought we were getting rid of this, Mr. Jones.
Getting rid of this? I'm sorry, maybe I didn't understand.
We're moving out of this building. Go ahead. I wasn't at the committee meeting.
Actually, no, I didn't have any comment.
Okay, all right. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Resolution number 2014-0011, a resolution authorizing an agreement with Cuyahoga County District Board of Health for participation in the Cuyahoga County Benefits Regionalization Program for the period January 1, 2014 through December 31, 2016. Authorizing the county executive to execute the agreement and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Conwell and seconded by Mr. Miller. Any discussion on this item?
Madam Chair, this is an agreement with the Board of Health to participate in our benefits regionalization program. These agreements and the next two that'll follow are benefits for municipalities and organizations to negotiate for cheaper pricing regarding their self-insurance fund. This is a benefit for the region by helping our municipalities. Each agreement has a separate fund, and the expansion of the agreements take about a 3% of the benefit department's time, and at this time does not present a problem for our benefits department to handle. We discussed that in committee. As the county continues to offer these regional agreements, it is the hope that the efficiencies with technology will assist in the will assist the Benefits Department in maintaining the future workload. So this committee recommends passage, and the next two items are similar, just different cities, so I won't speak on those.
Madam
Yes,
President.
Mr. Miller.
I just want to take this opportunity to say that a lot of people go out on the campaign trail and say that they're for collaboration, but our county executive has really walked the walk on this and made it a consistent part of everything that he's done, these are going to mark the 12th such agreement of this type, and there's lots others being done as well. So I commend the effort. Thanks.
If I could, Madam Chair, if I could just, first of all, thank you for the compliment, Councilman, and I can also tell you there's about another, actually more than a half dozen additional communities that are, that we're starting discussions with. We're also, I was going to save this for another date, but we're going to start having some discussions with adjoining counties as well. And so that's something I'll have discussion with about council, but it's really something that we've had other successes with regionalization, but I think this is probably one of the most one that has had probably the most practical effects and has saved probably the most money to local municipalities. So thanks for the compliment. We'll have more progress to report on it later this year.
All right, any other questions or discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Resolution number 2014-0012, a resolution authorizing an agreement with City of Fairview Park for participation in the Cuyahoga County Benefits Regionalization Program for the period January 1, 2014 through December 31, 2016, authorizing the county executive to execute the agreement and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Moved by Ms. Conwell and seconded by Mr. Germana. All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Resolution number 2014-0013, a resolution authorizing an agreement with Village of Walton Hills for participation in the Cuyahoga County Benefits Regionalization Program for the period January 1, 2014 through December 31, 2016, authorizing the county executive to execute the agreement and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Moved by Ms. Conwell and seconded by Mr. Germana. All those, any discussion on this item? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Resolution number 2014-0016, a resolution authorizing an economic development fund loan in the amount not to exceed $2 million to High Point Realty 24755 for purchase and renovation of a facility located at 24755 High Point Drive, Beechwood, authorizing the Deputy Chief of Staff of Development or Director of Development to execute all documents consistent with said loan and this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
To adopt.
Move to adopt.
I think Ms. Simon first, and yeah, Ms. Simon and then Mr. Sharon seconds. I think this is self-explanatory. It's been through committee. All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Oh,
Resolution-
Madam President, I just want to add my name.
No, add Ms. Simon's name,
Yes.
City of Beechwood.
I got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Resolution number 2014-0017, a resolution amending resolution number 2013-0073, dated April 9, 2013, which amended resolution number 2011-0293, dated October 25, 2011, which established a list of certified providers for occupational skills training services for the individual training account system for the period July 1, 2011 through June 30, 2014, to add various providers, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective. The providers are listed on the agenda as items I-1 through 3.
Move to adopt.
I'll take it with Mr. Rogers. It's his committee. And seconded by Ms. Conwell. Any discussion on this item?
Just briefly, we're just adding 3 new providers to the long list of providers that provide occupational skills training through the Employment Connections.
All right. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Resolution number 2014-0018, a resolution authorizing amendments to contracts with various providers for Workforce Investment Act in-school and out-of-school youth training for the period September 1, 2011 through June 30, 2013, to extend the time period to June 30, 2014, and for additional funds. Authorizing the county executive to execute the amendments and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective for the contracts, providers, and in the amounts not to exceed as printed on the agenda, items J1 and 2.
Move to adopt.
Moved by Ms. DeRosa, seconded by Ms. Conwell. Any discussion on this item?
Just briefly, these are renewals of contracts with Open Doors and Luther Metropolitan Ministries to provide after-school programs to youth.
All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Resolution number 2014-0019, a resolution authorizing amendments to agreements and contracts with various providers for Workforce Investment Act in-school and out-of-school youth training for the Connect the Dots program for the period September 1, 2011 through June 30, 2013, to extend the time period to June 30, 2014, and for additional funds. Authorizing the county executive to execute the amendments and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective for the agreements and contracts, providers, and in the amounts not to exceed as printed on the agenda, items K1 through 8.
Move to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Rogers and seconded by Mr. Schron.
This is a program that started out as a pilot, and it's proved to be highly successful, so they're continuing the program, and I urge support for it.
Ms. Conwell, name, please. All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Resolution number 2014-0020, a resolution authorizing an amendment to Master Contract Number CE 1300-268 for residential treatment services for the period February 1, 2013 through January 31, 2015, to change the total amount not to exceed from $2,250,000 to $3,850,000, to authorize funding decreases and/or increases with various previously approved providers, and to make awards on requisition number 28779 to additional providers for the period February 1, 2014 through January 31, 2015, authorizing the county executive to execute the amendment and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective. The providers are listed on the agenda as item L1 through 6.
Move to adopt.
All right, Mr. Schron, seconded by Mr. Miller.
Madam President.
Yes.
With reference to 20, 21, and 22, Ms. Lippman from Juvenile Court testified in front of the committee and was going to be here this evening, but I told her just stay home because of the weather outside. She went in depth on all of these, answered all of our questions. I can answer anybody's questions regarding these, but all of them in one way or another have to do with treatment of either hard-to-place youth, services for delinquent youth, or alternative detention for youth involved in court cases. The committee unanimously approved these for adoption, and I would appreciate my colleagues' support of this. And I'd just like to add that on our committee was Mr. Rogers, and hopefully, Mr. Rogers, when you write your memoirs, and you'll reflect back on the county council in a favorable light, I'm sure, as I will. I hope you in particular write a little something about the Public Safety and Justice Affairs Committee, where I still contend is the most fun and in-depth committee out there. And we will absolutely miss you and your input. It was invaluable, and it was an absolute pleasure to serve with you, sir.
All right, any other questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Resolution number 2014-0021, a resolution authorizing an amendment to Master Contract Number CE 1300-269 for residential treatment services for the Youth and Family Community Partnership Program for the period February 1, 2013 through January 31, 2015, to change the total amount not to exceed from $2,700,000 to $4,578,277.50, and to authorize funding decreases and/or increases with various previously approved providers, authorizing the county executive to execute the amendment and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Move to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Gallagher and seconded by Mr. Miller. Any discussion on this item? Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Resolution number 2014-0022, a resolution making awards on requisition number 28083 to various providers for staff secure shelter care services for the period March 1, 2014 through February 29, 2016, authorizing the county executive to execute the contracts and all other documents consistent with said awards and this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective for the providers and in the amounts not to exceed is printed on the agenda items N1 and 2.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Gallagher and seconded by Mr. Rogers. Any discussion on this item? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
President, can you add my name to this?
Have Mr. Rogers' name? It's already there?
No.
No.
Point two.
Resolution number 2014-0023, a resolution authorizing various revenue-generating agreements with Council for Economic Opportunities in Greater Cleveland for lease of space at various Cuyahoga County Board of Developmental Disability Centers for operation of Head Start programs for the period February 1, 2014 through January 31, 2017, authorizing the county executive to execute the agreements and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective. The centers, addresses, and in the amounts not to exceed are printed on the agenda items O, 1, and 2.
Move to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Rogers and seconded by Mr. Miller. Any discussion on this item?
Just briefly, we heard this in committee. There were people from the Board of Developmental Disabilities here. I think they may have left. But this is a revenue-generating activity for the board. They'll be leasing space to operate their Head Start programs. They have excess space because most children now are mainstreamed into the public schools as opposed to being in separate facilities. So they've maintained those facilities and have created a great partnership with Council of Economic Opportunities for their Head Start program.
Just by way of comment, I'm reading Doris Kearns Goodwin's book on President Theodore Roosevelt. But anyway, there was a law in 1880 that you could not provide public money for education for a child less than 6 years old. So, I don't understand why, but anyway, we've come a long way. Add Ms. Conwell's name, please.
Add mine as well.
Mr. Rogers?
I'm already on it. All right.
Okay. All right, any other questions, comments? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Resolution number 2014-0024, a resolution authorizing a contract with Starting Point in the amount not to exceed $1,241,864 for administration and coordination of the early care, education, professional development, and teacher education and compensation helps professional development programs for the period January 1, 2014 through December 31, 2015, authorizing the county executive to execute the contract and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Rogers and seconded by Mr. Schrein. Any other comment on this? Is for early childhood education?
Madam President, we had an extensive presentation from Starting Point. Starting Point is the agency that we contract with that provides technical assistance as well as professional development for our universal pre-K programs, and they are the premier expert in the field in this area, and also work with the state of Ohio on this. So I urge your support of the next three.
All right, any other questions? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Madam President,
Yes.
I would ask if my name could be added to this one and the next two.
Okay, add Mr. Miller's name.
And the next two, Mr. Miller?
Yes, please.
Resolution number 2014-0025, a resolution authorizing a contract with Starting Point in the amount not to exceed $3,967,986 for administration of the Special Needs Child Care Program for the Invest in Children program for the period January 1, 2014 through December 31, 2015, authorizing the county executive to execute the contract and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Moved by Mr. Schrein and seconded by Ms. Conwell. Any discussion on this item?
Just briefly, because the amount's so high, I think it's worthy of a little bit of discussion. Starting Point works with child care centers, whether they're large or small, or even the in-home child care centers, for providing training, equipment, evaluations of children with special needs. They work with any center in Cuyahoga County. So I can't recall, I believe the number of students that they're looking to work with through this grant is 1,500. So there's a large number of young people that will be impacted by this. Thank you.
You know, this almost $4 million was probably bigger than the whole budget for the state of Ohio in 1880. All right, any other questions or discussions? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Resolution number 2014-0026, a resolution authorizing a contract with Starting Point in the amount not to exceed $3,549,202 for administration of the Family Child Care Home Regional System for the Invest in Children program for the period January 1, 2014 through December 31, 2015, authorizing the county executive to execute the contract and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Second.
By Mr. Schrein and seconded by Mr. Rogers.
And again, lastly on this one, Starting Point will be working directly with child care providers that are providing child care within their own home. It's a very large number, but the idea is that we want to create standards throughout the county that are consistent and that are high quality. So Starting Point has been charged to work with this population of folks. Thank you.
Any other questions, discussion? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
And Madam President, I'd like to have my name added to this. In fact, you can add all three of the previous.
Okay, I believe we're at item 18. Consideration of an ordinance for first reading and referral to committee.
Ordinance number 2014-0003, an ordinance amending Cuyahoga County Code, Chapter 506, Procurement Card Program Policies and Procedures, to approve revised Cuyahoga County Procurement Card Program Policies and Procedures effective March 1, 2014, and declaring the necessity that this ordinance become immediately effective.
This goes to Public Works. Item 19, committee report and consideration of an ordinance for second reading.
Ordinance number 2014-0002, an ordinance amending Cuyahoga County Code, Chapter 503, Small Business Enterprise Program Policies and Procedures, to approve revised Cuyahoga County Small Business Enterprise Program Policies and Procedures effective February 15, 2014, and declaring the necessity that this ordinance become immediately effective.
This matter will go on for a third reading on February the 11th. Are there any miscellaneous committee reports? I have a list of committee meetings we can run through quickly. Go ahead, Mr. Miller.
Madam President and my colleagues, the Finance and Budget will meet at our regular time on Monday, February 3rd at 1 p.m. And at that time, we'll hear the legislation that was held on the multi-year appropriations. And also, we'll have a conceptual overview presentation of the financial policies legislation, which will be introduced for first reading on February 11th.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Greenspan?
Thank you, Madam President. On Monday, February 3rd at 9 a.m., my committee will meet to go over and continue, actually, the Sheriff's Charter Amendment proposal, as well as two other items referred to committee, the Ethics Ordinance and the Definition of Nominee Amendment, as well as the collaborative effort on the Group Plan Commission for the financial component only. I believe it was a discussion that the operational component will be sent to Committee of the Whole at a future date.
Yeah, we did have a presentation regarding the changes in Public Square, which are very, very significant. And we'll arrange to have that brought before the Committee of the Whole in the next month or so. Anyone else have committee reports?
Yes, Madam Chair. Human Resources Appointment and Equity will be Tuesday, February 4th at 10 a.m.
Public Works? Purnell, you on?
President, the Public Works Contracting and Procurement Committee will meet at its regular time on Wednesday, February 5th at 11 a.m. to deal with the items referred today.
Any miscellaneous business?
Madam President? Yes. Madam President, thank you. If this council remembers, about a year ago, we passed a resolution supporting a newly elected official training program in collaboration between Cleveland State University, Julian's new home, and County Council, Julian's old home. And so we actually have advanced that program. Last year it was a pilot program where we invited elected officials to participate and help us vet through the curriculum. We're proud to announce that with the assistance of Greater Cleveland Partnership and the Cleveland Foundation, who have graciously provided funding for this newly elected official training, that the two-day program will begin February 7th and 8th. February 7th, it'll be a collaboration with the City of Westlake, who will be conducting Sunshine Law training, and we'll participate with them. And on February 8th, it'll be a 6-hour training program at Cleveland State. There are about 40 newly elected officials, municipal officials, excluding mayors. They have their own training, although we are working with the Mayors and Managers Association to coordinate curriculum, who we anticipate to participate in the program. Say that. So I'll be glad to report back the findings of the meetings. But if anybody would like to attend, it'll be February 7th at the City of Westlake at the Rec Center for the Sunshine Law training, if you want to attend that, or February 8th at the Atrium from 9:30 to 3:30 at Cleveland State. Thank you.
Mr. Germano?
Madam Chairman, I just want to remind committee chairman, committees that I'm a part of, that starting next Monday, I'll be accompanying my wife to a well-deserved vacation for her, and I'll be studying the amenities and the collaboration of the counties of Collier and Lee counties in Florida, and I will be reporting back.
Now, you're going to do some...
I will be back. I'll be back for the 25th meeting.
Are you going to be doing some land surveys on these 18-hole developments?
I'll be checking holes and sand and water.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, we may deny your request, but I guess we can. All right, anything further? I want to thank all of you for really coming out in the coldest of weather. Ms. Myers is here from the Citizens League. We had to comply with the statute, and we had, and the law director kept us on track. So we braved the elements, and we're here. So if there's no further business before this council, the coldest day of the year, we stand adjourned.